Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are taking your AI skills from standard, everyday usage and totally leveling them up to professional mastery. We're going to unlock what's known as the Master Claude Enterprise Toolkit. And we're covering the whole shebang, from selecting your foundational models all the way up to working with advanced artifacts. Okay, let's dive into this.
So here's our syllabus for today. First, choosing the right model. Second, the perfect prompt structure. Third, chain of thought reasoning. Fourth, managing massive context windows. And finally, number 5, building with Claude artifacts. By the time we wrap up, I promise you'll walk away with a complete end-to-end understanding of how to operate Claude like a true professional engineer.
Section 1. Choosing the right model. Right off the bat, picking the absolute right engine is the first foundational decision of any AI workflow. You're generally weighing two main choices here, Opus and Sonnet. Now, Opus is the heavyweight, right? It boasts the absolute deepest reasoning, but it thinks slower and it's definitely going to cost you more. Sonnet, on the other hand, is your capable, fast, super cost-effective workhorse. Honestly, for most of your coding tasks, feature building, or just daily writing, Sonnet should be your default. We really shouldn't just automatically reach for Opus just because it's the highest tier.
But here's where it gets fun. There's a highly strategic way to use both of them together, often called Opus Plan. It's a hybrid mode you'll see in tools like Claude Code. In this setup, Opus handles all that high-level architectural planning and the heavy reasoning. Then, when it's actually time to get hands-on, to execute file edits and write the actual lines of code, it just seamlessly switches over to Sonnet. So you get the sheer brilliance of Opus's planning, but you aren't paying those high token rates for every single line of code executed. It's literally the best of both worlds.
Section 2, the perfect prompt structure. Let's move to and see how this builds. Because look, even if we select the most powerful model in the world, it can still completely fail if you don't give it a structured blueprint. So, let me ask you, why do prompts actually fail? When an AI goes completely off the rails, what went wrong? Well, the primary danger usually boils down to unstructured prompting, and that leads straight into hallucination and totally unpredictable results.
To show you what I mean, consider this hilarious but honestly highly cautionary tale. Someone submitted a Swedish car accident report form to Claude with a super vague prompt, basically just saying, "Review the claim." Now, because the form had this random hand-drawn sketch and like 17 checkboxes with zero clear context, Claude just guessed. It confidently described a skiing accident. It even went ahead and invented safety rules about uphill skiers. No way, right? But it guessed and hallucinated simply because it didn't have a defined role or strict guardrails.
So how do we fix this? Well, Anthropic's own engineers recommend a 10-part framework, and your secret weapon here is XML tags. By mapping your prompt elements into tags, like literally wrapping the persona in a role tag, the background in a context tag, the actual job in a task tag, and the layout in an output_format tag, you're creating unambiguous machine-readable boundaries. The AI knows exactly where your instructions end and the raw data begins.
Think of it like this. XML tags are exactly like those little section dividers in a physical binder. If you hand someone a massive, messy stack of loose papers, they're going to get overwhelmed and confused. But if you hand them a perfectly organized binder with nice, clear tabs, they know exactly where to look. That is exactly what XML tags do. They keep Claude perfectly organized.
And this brilliantly illustrates the impact of that organization. Internal testing by Anthropic shows that structured XML prompts produce a 20 to 40% improvement in output consistency compared to just throwing unstructured plain text at it. I mean, 40%. That is a massive leap in reliability, all from just adding some basic organizational tags around your prompt sections.
Section 3, chain of thought reasoning.
Now, when we're dealing with really complex math, tough logic, or multi-step decisions, we actually want to explicitly slow the AI down. And the process for this is super straightforward, using those same tags. Step 1, present the task. Step 2, outline the reasoning inside a thinking tag. And Step 3, request the final result in an answer tag. What this does is cleanly separate the reasoning from the final output. For developers, that means you can programmatically extract just the answer for your app, while keeping that entire thought process visible behind the scenes for debugging.
Actually, there is a very important rule of thumb here. Skip chain of thought for simple tasks. If you just need a really quick factual lookup, some basic formatting, or a simple text classification, forcing the AI to think step by step is just a waste of tokens. It adds unnecessary latency, and honestly, it doesn't even improve the result. So definitely save this technique only for when the task genuinely requires deep, complex thought.
Section 4, Managing Massive Context Windows.
Okay, so standard models handle a very generous 200,000 tokens, which is a lot. But we are now looking at the absolute bleeding edge, 1 million. Yes, 1 million tokens. That is the massive beta limit currently available for select Tier 4 organizations using Claude's top models. To put that into perspective, we are talking about the sheer scale of entire codebase ingestion, massive legal corpora, and whole repository analysis all crammed into a single prompt.
But here's the catch. You can't just dump 1 million tokens into a prompt and assume the AI is going to pay equal attention to all of it. Prompt ordering is absolutely critical here to prevent information loss. So here is how you do it. Step 1. Insert those massive reference documents at the very top. Step 2. Provide a concise working brief in the middle to give it context. Step 3. State your specific query at the absolute bottom.
So the crucial point is this rule. Always put your query at the end of a long document. By placing your main instructions last, you essentially anchor the model's attention on what actually matters right now. And, according to internal guidance, just doing this can improve answer quality by up to 30% on complex, large document prompts.
Section 5. Building with Claude Artifacts. All right, this is where all of our careful, structured prompt engineering truly comes to life visually. Claude Artifacts is basically a sandboxed, live preview environment right there inside the chat window. It instantly renders your code, documents, and designs, which means you completely eliminate the need to constantly switch tabs, copy-paste raw code into a text editor, or spin up a local environment just to see if the AI-generated code actually works. It just happens right before your eyes.
And the capabilities are literally incredible. Even if you have zero coding experience, you can generate live React components, complete single-file HTML and CSS pages, stunning SVG architecture diagrams, and fully robust HTML email templates. It even has this amazing synergy with automation platforms. You can seamlessly generate complex Zapier JSON payloads and data transforms, and then just copy and paste them directly into your workflows. It's a real game changer.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is understanding the boundaries. The Artifacts sandbox is totally isolated. It gives you those gorgeous live UI previews, but it cannot make real external API calls or access your local file system. But you know what? That's exactly why it is so powerful for prototyping. You can perfect your formatting, your logic, and your webhook payloads safely right there in the sandbox before you deploy that flawless code directly into your live pipeline or web server.
Well, we've covered a lot today. Everything from picking the right model and organizing prompts with XML tags to leveraging deep chain of thought reasoning, managing million-token context windows, and unleashing the visual power of artifacts. You now possess a definitive enterprise toolkit that unlocks a completely different level of engineering. So, the only question left to ask is, what will you build with it?